Hello and welcome back to Down the Slope. We've finally got a win to report on. Hibs beat Kilmarnock over the weekend, and we are very happy about it. We've got a not so full house because Ewan has got a shift at the chocolate factory tonight, but we are joined by Liam, Ryan, and Greg. Ryan, how are you doing?
I'm all right, mate. Thanks very much. You know the rules.
Hey, and Greg, how are we getting on?
Yeah, very good, mate. You?
Yeah, not too bad. And Liam, obviously the favourite part of the show for you is when we get to say how we're doing. How are you doing, Liam?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Harry. Thank you ever so much for asking me.
Hey, of course. And just before we get into the listener questions, let's kind of talk about the first time in like a month and a half that we can talk about a Hibs victory. Greg, just how big going into the international break did that win feel of the weekend?
Huge. I think it. Look, it probably wasn't the greatest performance, but it's one of them that you just need to get it over the line. Carry a bit of momentum going into the international break as well.
And Liam, touching on the performance briefly, obviously, end of the day, you play league games to get points on the board, and we got three. Do you think the performance is as kind of subpar as people are making out, or do you think it was kind of a workman's job and we just kind of done what we need to
By people, do you mean you? And
do?
I've not really seen too many people who've gone after the performance, to be honest. And the Twitter sphere otherwise, I think most folk are just happy that we won a game. We kept a clean sheet. It wasn't a vintage performance. I don't expect we'll be bringing out a DVD of it anytime soon, but I did think that we controlled the game for large spells. There was maybe a wee sort of 10, 15 minutes at the end that was a little bit anxiety inducing, but I think a lot of that was just because of what had gone before in previous weeks. We've seen us concede quite a lot of late goals, so I think it's understandable maybe for people to be a bit nervous.
And Ryan, take us back to pre-game just before when the team lineups got announced. What did you make of the Hibs team? Obviously, just a couple of changes coming in from some St Mirren game of the week.
I didn't really think anything of it, to be honest. I was happy enough. I don't read too much into the team. When it comes out, you've just got to wait and see how the game pans out before you kind of make a judgment on it, whether players are up to it or not. And they all seem to be kind of at it on Saturday, to be honest with you. Yeah, I was happy enough. Me, Liam, and you were speaking about it in the concourse, and it was all right. Yeah, we were all fairly happy. We understood the rotation part of it as well, given that there's a lot of players that played a lot of minutes. So I was okay with it.
Hey, and speaking of rotation, we're going to get into our first listener question of the day. Michael McCurdy, what a guy. I'm not sure if he's forgiven Ryan yet for spilling beer all over his jacket at Hampton. Don't actually know if he knows that, but
Was
Mike,
that
if you're
was that
watching,
me?
it was you indeed. But Mikey
Oh,
made a good point and said, how good is it to have a bit of a shithouse in our team again? Lewis Miller, in brackets, our player of the season so far, IMO, winding them up at the end was glorious. Jokes aside, I think it's something we've been missing the last couple of seasons. What's your thoughts? Liam, we'll come to you first on that. Apologies, you were taking a drink as I said that. But Lewis Miller, what did you make of him?
I suppose overall performance was good first and foremost. I think if you're going to be dishing out the shithousery, you need to make sure that your own performances are up to scratch. And thought he was very good on Saturday for long spells of the game. I do think it's important to have that kind of character, the character that other fans hate and the one that you love that they hate. I think every team kind of needs someone. I think the guy, for me, is probably, I've not really looked at the statistics on it, but he's probably one of the most fouled players in the league at this point as well. He takes a lot of punishment. The Luzerne game, which I think I've mentioned on here before, springs to mind, but also some of the league fixtures this season. So I think he's got every right to want to wind up opposition players. And I quite like it. It's good content. Like that sort of stuff makes memes and it pisses people off. I tweeted about it the weekend. I had lots of Aberdeen fans replying to me as they always do, which was nice. So yeah, love it.
And Greg, you're the type of person that feels like we'll either absolutely adore a player for being a shithouse or will absolutely despise it depending on what day of the week it was. In terms of Lewis Miller's 1-0 at full time,
That's
what did
just
you
how
make of
Greg
it?
feels with everything, is it? No, he either loves it or he hates it. There's no in between. There's no vanilla with
um,
Greg. Like,
I'm glad he done his job first and foremost. But nah, listen, I love that. I think it's important that you've got someone in the team that can pull out a bit of shithousery. And look, he's certainly backed up this season. He's been solid pretty much every game. So nah, look, I really enjoy it. Maybe could have given Derek McInnes a bit as well, but you know, we take it and we move.
Yeah. And Ryan, looking at the other part of the question that Mikey sent in there, personally, his player of the year so far, obviously, has been having a good season. Do you think that player of the year is a bit of a stretch, or do you think that that's warranted praise?
Oh, if you take it to this point of the season, 10, 11 games in, if you take it from the start to now, he probably has been the most consistent performer. So I think it's probably fair. Him and maybe one or two others, but he's probably been a bit of a standout given that he didn't really play much last season. And he's kind of come in, albeit Karen's injured, but he's started the majority of the games and he's played fairly well in most of them. Hamden wasn't his greatest performance, but he's been very good. He's been very good for me.
Yeah. And another player that came into the team that wasn't starting against St Mirren was Martin Boyle. And I think it's fair to say we kind of saw the good and the bad of Martin Boyle in that last game there. In terms of that rotation, do you think that it was a tactical thing that Ewan and Boyle didn't start both games? Obviously, Campbell came in and put a good performance against St Mirren and ended up starting at the weekend as well. Or are we thinking that's more of just we've had like 5 games in a 12-day span, it feels like. So would you think it was more rest the legs, or do you think it was a tactical thing, Ryan?
Yeah, I would say it's probably more based on the amount of games that we've had in the last couple of weeks. And Boyle will go away and play for Australia as well. So I think he was probably trying to get the most out of him before he went away and comes back and might need a rest again, given the travel and the minutes that he's going to get. So it was a good opportunity to rest Ewan, and he'll have 2 weeks to get everybody else back into shape for the next fixture. So I don't think it was tactical, to be honest with you. I think Josh Campbell deserved to stay in the team, given he played so well against St Mirren. So it was maybe a case of making sure he stayed in the team somehow.
Okay. And Liam or Greg, I'll open this to either of you. Obviously, people like to bang on about how terrible our squad is when we lose, and then how terrible the team selection was, and we ended up moaning that we didn't get 3 points away to St Mirren. And do you think that Montgomery, even though he's made debatably a few dodgy subs in his time, do you think that rotation-wise he's done pretty well over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, look, I think you need to use your full squad, especially when it can get a bit congested. Obviously, injuries play a part in that as well. Martin Boyle getting injured, celebrating a disallowed goal, it doesn't help. But look, he's got a squad there. He believes in his squad. He trusts his squad, and he's going to use that squad. I think a lot can be made off subs when they happen, but ultimately he's the man in charge, and it's his job to make the subs and decide what's best for the team. So it's just a shame that there's 16,000, 17,000 people try to do his job for him every week at Easter.
And Liam got a comment in from Jeff Ashton. He said, might be repeating myself, but I thought we looked tired in the second half. Accumulation of games, injuries, and the sickness bug taking their toll. Defensively, we were rock solid, deserved to win. With a better final ball, we could have had more. The Jair redemption arc continues. So looking at the first part of that, do you think that the second half performance again was a drop-off? That's something that we've been saying about Hibs for years, is we can't put 2 halves of football together. Do you think that was another case of that weekend?
Maybe the second half of the second half, I would agree with that. I think it's natural. Maybe players looking a wee bit leggy. He did obviously try to go to the bench, but given what we've just spoken about, maybe he was conscious of not overusing the bench too early. I think particularly the legginess, I think at least in part, was contributed to by the fact that we had to take Dylan Vente off for health reasons. I understand he's been ill. And we sort of lost a bit of a focal point in attack, if I'm honest. And then all the great work that he does then means that I think the team overall maybe sits a little bit deeper as a result, because Campbell's the kind of guy who's going to go and do some great work off the ball, but his work off the ball typically is more impressive when the ball's in front of him rather than behind him. And I think that's a problem. He doesn't give you a focal point. He'll run all day for you, but it's not the same kind of presence that Vente provides. So I think that kind of resulted in us sitting a bit deeper, and then obviously the Jeggo sub as well. And again, this is not a slight on Jimmy Jeggo at all. It's just type of player as he forces us to sit a wee bit deeper when he comes on as well. So I do think that's a bit of an issue later on in games, and something we're going to have to, I think, find maybe a different solution to. But I do agree with the overall sort of overarching point that they did look leggy, and I do agree with Jeff that the Jair redemption arc very much looks like it's continuing.
Yeah, all right. Talk to me, Ryan. Jair Tavares. I think we could literally scoot back for a few episodes and we could find each of the five of us at some point saying along the lines of Jair Tavares is not good enough at football to play for Hibs, which at the time I don't think was unjustified because from what we saw of him, it wasn't good enough. But he genuinely looks like a pretty good player, doesn't he?
Yeah, I'll hold my hands up right now so the public can hear that I probably written him off more than once. So I got that one wrong. As for like identifying a player, I'm probably more defensively minded, but I really enjoyed watching him on Saturday. I thought he got the ball in good positions, kind of in between their defensive midfield, and spun the marker a couple of times and put us in dangerous positions. I think he's got a good first touch and he gets himself into space really well. He looked a real threat. He looked one of our more dangerous players on Saturday, and if anything good was going to happen, it seemed as though it was going to come through him. Obviously delighted for him because he seems like a really genuine guy that loves the Hibs. He's stuck at it. A lot of players would have flung the towel in a long time ago. So you've got to commend him for that kind of determination to get himself back involved as well, which I love. You know, he's probably fought quite hard to get to where he is just now in the last 12, 18 months. So fair play to him.
The second part of Jeff Ashton, he also said, "Oh, and Specky actually sounded good on the BBC." One, thank you for saying I sounded good, and two, I'm not sure if I should be offended at the fact he included the word "actually," because it sounds like he was surprised by the fact I was on Sports Sound for anybody that listens. And once their earwaves polluted by Hazard on
radio
the regular,
friends.
Radio friends, he's on BBC.
He didn't sound good on the radio. Me and you were listening to it, but that was more because of the cheap stereo in the car, to be honest with you. Nothing to do with you, Harry.
Yeah, I felt I was trying to get baited into slagging off Montgomery, and I wasn't having any of it. I love the man. But speaking of redemption arcs, Billy King of the North said, "What does Campbell have to do to get before fans will get on side? He's a Hibs fan, he's a goal-scoring midfielder, but anytime he's listed in the first team, it's met with negativity." Greg, we've went back and forth like many Hibs fans have on Josh Campbell. Why can't Hibs fans just love him? As Billy rightfully mentioned, he is a Hibs fan through and through, and he is a goal-scoring midfielder, which Hibs fans typically don't like if you look back at the likes of Stevie Mallon. But why do Hibs fans not just adore Josh Campbell?
It's a tough one, I think. At times his performances dip to really, really low levels. And other times he can pretty much be the main man. And at times there doesn't really seem to be much in between. He is probably quite a frustrating player. But look, he does score goals, and it might sound daft, but I feel like if he's not in the opposition box, he's maybe not the most effective. He's not going to pick the ball up in midfield, and he's not going to drive with it. He's not going to create things, I don't feel. But he will put chances away. But when he plays up front, he's no good. But yeah, it's a tough one because he is a very frustrating player to watch at times, but he will produce moments of magic out of nothing.
It's bizarre because I think what Greg's just described is a poacher, but in the shape of a midfielder, which doesn't really work.
But there's other examples of players in the modern game who do that role as a kind of number 10, but not in a conventional sense. Like he's not a thread the ball through the eye of the needle type of number 10. He's a number 10 who sets the press, will charge down lost causes. There's a lot of really good stuff off the ball that we've already talked about, and will make late runs into the box. So in some respects, he's kind of good as sort of a supporting striker rather than a centre forward himself. I don't think he's a brilliant finisher. Like genuinely, like in terms of volume of chances, most of his goals seem to come kind of in sort of 12-yard box space. But he's not a bad finisher either. He's a good asset. He's a good squad player. But I think that's what he is. I think he's a squad player at Hibs. I think that's his level. I think he's a guy that comes in the team when we need him. You know, probably starts a number of games a season. But I think he got off on the wrong foot with a lot of Hibs fans because he was used wrongly by different managers who tried to use him as a deep line playmaker who was going to swivel on the ball, take the ball to centre halves, and that's not his game. He likes to kick it the way he faces. And I think that's a difficult thing, that players aren't in control of their destiny and how they're blooded into the team. So if a manager uses them in the wrong way initially, it sets them off on the back foot. But Jack Ross is probably the one who saw how to use them and used them right. He used them in that 10 position in the 4-2-3-1 system and got him essentially to do the role that he did on Saturday, and it worked.
And Ryan, if you look at the amount of points that he's actually earned, so like in the last 2 weeks alone, he's got us 4 points on the board. And then last season, I'm sure there was one point where we looked and he'd like his goals directly earned Hibs like 12 points. So he genuinely does have an impact on the game. So should Hibs fans not get a bit more on board on like what Greg and Liam are saying is 100% true, in the sense that he might not be technically the most gifted player we have, but he should tick all the boxes for fans to love him, shouldn't he?
He should absolutely tick all the boxes. I think we just need to understand and accept that we're a very fickle fan base, along with every other fan base in the world of football. People would have made their mind up on the points that maybe Liam stated about being used in the wrong position, and then maybe doubled down on it. We've just got to accept that. But I think when it comes to like his form being up and down, he probably is just one of those kind of streaky players, and he's going to have a bad game. And I think we just need to take that with the good. And being a squad player, you can kind of accept that, because you can rotate them as needed. It's not as if they're permanent starters and they're letting you down every week, so you can put them in and out as and when needed. He breaks the lines well. It is hard to pick up midfield runners, so he does get himself into good positions because he might get away from his midfield marker. He gets himself in the box quite late on the end of things, and we've seen that last season with a lot of the goals he scored. So, and when it comes to assessing quality, we should take the Hibs fan thing out of the equation. I don't think that buys you any more quality than what you're gifted with.
I don't think it buys you more quality, but it should get fans more on side. Like, I love it.
You're either but quality-wise, you're either good enough or you're not. Though I don't think. I'm not meaning Josh Campbell. I mean in general. If somebody's not good enough, I don't think you give them leeway for the team you support.
Doesn't really seem to carry that much favour though, does it? Like, is Liam Craig not a Hibs fan? Like, yeah, I struggle to think of many more disliked Hibs players than Liam Craig.
I'm
not by me personally, but there's loads of examples down the years. Colin Nish was a Hibs fan. He was berated by most Hibs supporters that I know.
Paul Hanlon still gets a bit of a tough time.
I do think like it's one of those things where like, you'd like to think that because they're one of your own that you'll buy into them, but actually really be kind of pick and choose who we buy into as a fan base. And there's loads and loads of different parameters that we set about whether we like players or not. I do think Campbell's one who's probably harshly judged, to be honest. And I do see a lot of comments on Twitter like calling him a competition winner or saying he's never good enough. I think the reality probably lies somewhere between that and the people who think he's exceptional. That he's probably somewhere in between that. The one thing with Campbell, and you get it from Doijink as well, is even when they're having a bad day at the office, they still work their fucking socks off for the team. So, you know, work rate's a bare minimum, but those guys will go and do it. And you can't say that of every player that plays every single game.
And let's jump into the YouTube comments. Recently, Jason Ladd said, Campbell's still developing. He does have a good goal knack, though. Kevin Maddox, as always, said, hi lads, Kev from Newcastle. Hope you're all well. Some real positive youngsters and Jair particularly. Stick with Montgomery. Wingers, go support another team. Keep up the good work. Cheers. Mike Hibs, reflecting back on Ryan, said, didn't know about the jacket, but all is forgiven. Just a bit extra seasoning on the waterproof.
I never knew about it either.
Ewan said, what is wider our back four or Greg's middle pattern? Blair Donaldson. Any answer, Greg?
Does he mean pattern?
He must do. That's embarrassing. If he's actually gonna slag me, he needs to spell properly.
Wait, is that our Ewan?
No, Ewan Denham.
Right.
Then Blair Donaldson said, who would you sign in January to improve the squad? Still think need a creative midfielder and a solid centre-back. And just compounding that, we also had Lee Rose sent in a question on Twitter saying, where should we be looking to strengthen in January? So looking slightly ahead now, I know it's international break as opposed to January transfer window break, but at the moment, if these guys could pick a position that we could fill, where would you be looking on the field?
Left-sided centre half and a goalie.
Yeah, a centre half that's got pace. I think you seen Ange went down south and he wants to play it from the back and he wants to play a fairly high line. So he went and signed a centre half that's got pace and can cover that space in behind. I think it's important you have somebody that's quick back there and decent on the ball, but definitely left-footed. We need that balance at the back. If Fish does go back early or at the end of the season, we need to look long-term. We need a left-footer long-term.
My hot take is if we keep Fish till the end of the season. I don't think there's value in bringing in a makeshift centre back for the rest of the year. I would rather bring in a centre back come the summer. For me, I think we could do with an extra body in the midfield, whether it be the number 6 that Liam's been crying out for a while, or just a kind of creative player. I think that we've got Jonio, who run up and down the pitch like a madman. We've got Dylan Levitt, who from what we've seen of him, seems very comfortable sitting deeper and trying to be creative from there. But I think we're kind of missing that player in the hole as such that can be a bit more advanced and actually pick the passes out. That we, even if it was like just a kind of rotation player to start with, that can bring on in games in which we're struggling to break down opposition. So for me, even though I've wanted a centre back for probably about 1,000 days now, I would like us to pick an actual first team centre back in the summer as opposed to just grabbing someone in the middle of January.
Can I just put it?
Yeah.
I've really liked Levitt number 6. I'll be honest with you. He's really comfortable on the ball, and he kind of sits in between the two centre halves and starts a lot of things there. And I do think he's got that little bit of bite needed for a number 6 as well. I know it might be to our advantage to play him higher up the park, but he's been really capable of doing what we need him to do in the number 6 role. I really liked his performance on Saturday.
When teams come and sit in, you probably need them a little bit deeper to try and open absolutely up the space and open it up. And I think that people will obviously want him to play higher up, but I think at home against teams like Kilmarnock who will sit, it suits us to play him there because he will pick holes and he will open things up for us.
He done that on Saturday, absolutely.
I'd be a bit disappointed if we went through the January transfer window and our number 1 priority that we signed was a rotation option in midfield. I think you need to be improving the starting 11, to be honest. And I do think potentially a 6 would be part of doing that. But I think a left-sided centre half is the absolute priority if we want to play out from the back and sign someone who can resist the press. So we've got a bit more confidence in when we're giving that ball out, particularly on the left-hand side. And if we're not going to play Walcott, if Walcott's my second choice, I would like us to go after a goalie just because, we've seen this goalie too many times. It has not looked up to it. So I do think there's an issue there. But maybe if you were being greedy, if you're wanting to sign rotation options, I think maybe a wide player as well to supplement the wide options that we've got. Maybe. I think everywhere else, I think we're pretty stocked unless we move some players on in January. I suspect we might though. I suspect we might see a few go out in January who are out of favour.
And since we're on the since we're talking about defenders, M. Dowson, and great to finally keep a clean sheet, but why do they persist in being penned into our own box area at the last 10 minutes of every game when everyone knows that we are fragile at that point of the game? Surely they can hold the line a bit further up the park and ease the nervousness. And another stat that I saw, which is completely wild to me, is the fact that Hibs have kept 5 clean sheets in the league, which is currently tied for 4th. I think Celtic, Rangers and Dundee have all kept more than us. And I would argue that the goals that we've conceded in recent games, I don't really think that the centre-back partnership have been at fault. I think that Rocky and Fish have had a pretty much incredible month of football if you take away the Rangers game. I think that for me, I'd be comfortable at the moment keeping that for the rest of the season. I think that the goals that we've conceded are typically more down to the midfielders or the transition of the team. I think we lose the ball in transition quite often, and then we leave ourselves quite open at the back. And like if you look at the goal we conceded in the semi-final against Aberdeen, the reason we conceded is because everybody went gung-ho and went forward. If you look at the goals we conceded against St Mirren, we lost the ball at the halfway line and 2 passes cut us open and they scored. Like, I don't think at the moment defensively we've actually looked that bad under Montgomery. I think that when we concede in flurries, and that's what the problem is. So essentially, I'm just trying to bat for Rocky Bashiri here. I think he's earned the right to be a starting centre back at Hibs, with Hibs fans being comfortable with it for at least the season anyway, because I don't think that replacing him in January with a significant upgrade's going to be viable unless we spend a decent dosh of money.
More comfortable, right? Yeah. So I think now asking him, as someone who's not hugely comfortable on the ball anyway to begin with, to then be asked to play on the left-hand side is such an ask on the ball. And then out of possession, being a right footer left centre half is far more difficult when they've got balls that go in that outside channel. it's very difficult action to get across and hook your leg round to make those challenges. It's a big ask, both in possession and out possession, especially for someone who's not played as many games as Rocky has. Like if he'd had 250 career appearances and you were asking him to move from right to left, you'd maybe feel comfortable with it. But I just think it's too big an ask for the long term. I think it'll cost us too many goals just from the way we play, but also I think defensively what that'll mean for him.
I think defensively, he's probably been better than Will Fish this season. And he deserves to play on the right. We need to bring someone in the left side. We've only needed it for the past 6 windows, but maybe this will be the one. We're going back to the point about why they get penned in the last 10 minutes. That's totally natural. When you're defending a lead, you will just automatically sit a little bit further back. And it almost frustrates me that people get annoyed at that. It's just the way it goes. If you're defending a 1-0 lead, you're going to automatically drop back and sit that a little bit deeper. You're not going to continue to push high up the park. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah, I think you also need to appreciate that the opposition are going to be going out for an equaliser, so they're going to be pushing bodies forward. Like it's natural, it happens. It's not just all about us. Like you've got to take into account the other team as well and what they're doing. I do agree with your sentiment about the defence kind of getting a lot of scrutiny for the goals conceded. It's kind of like a collective. When you're out of possession, everybody should be working hard to defend in some form, whether it's pressing, following a marker, being tight to somebody, watching a channel or a passing lane. So it's more a collective when it comes to defending. It's not like an individual talent like flair when you see people going forward. It's hard work and concentration.
Just a second question there from Lee Rose before we move on from this question. How was Big Bad G's spa day?
Lovely. It was 10 out of 10.
What was the highlight of the spa day?
Do you know what? I actually didn't even go to the spa, but it was just nice to go and chill. Like 10 out of 10. Loved it. I know Lee's jealous that I didn't take him, but
Lee, man.
Hey. And then Sibo has asked, what has Campbell done enough to deserve a run in the side? I think we've kind of touched on Campbell a bit, so we'll leave that one for now. But then he said, if so, where does that leave Alf, Doige, Melkerson and McCurdy when they're available? Do we think that the way that Campbell's being used, he would probably be in the pecking order for like the striker / in behind the striker role as opposed to over Newell and Levitt, which we probably would have expected him for previously?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because we're not going to dive into formations because I think we're all still triggered by the amount of people demanding formations from us for weeks. But it is interesting that, because I think the one's always going to be Venta, and then the kind of two around them can either be Doige up the side or it can be another player dropping him behind. So it is interesting how different personnel can tweak that. But an interesting question from Siegel here. And he said, any potential signings from the rest of the league you would like us to look, or that you like the look of? I know Mark O'Hara is going to be Greg's, but apart from O'Hara, is there anybody that you've seen this season that's impressed that you think Hibs could actually take a punt on come January?
Do you think O'Hara gets in this team now, Greg?
It's a tough one, to be fair. Probably not. Yeah, I was absolutely caned for it, and then he started scoring goals. So I'm just trying to get that bit out there as well. That spotted him, and he went in an upward trajectory. But I don't think he gets in this team in 4-4-2. I really don't. I don't really know if there's anyone in the league that's achievable that I would take, to be honest.
I quite like Bacchus, but again, I don't think he gets in the team ahead of the two that we're playing just now.
Anyone yourself, Liam?
I thought Ryan was going to suggest Matt O'Reilly. Normally likes to go for a shout that's completely unachievable.
To be fair, I suggested I suggested Danny McNamara once. He was on the bench for Millwall at the weekend, so he's out of favour. All right.
There's no really that stood out to me, to be honest, beyond the names that have already been mentioned. I did say that we should maybe have been after Robbie Dees from Kelly when they signed them, but wasn't all that impressive. Sort of playing like sort of left wing back on Saturday, wasn't he? He was playing quite high. I can't say I was that impressed by him or Stuart Finlay, to be honest. So wouldn't be in a rush to go and buy them. Not really anyone in the league that stood out. I quite like the look of the boy that Motherwell have signed on loan for Arsenal, that Mika Biereth. A big, powerful centre forward. I think he would maybe be a good option. And I do like Jan Dander, but to the points that I've already made, I don't think Jan Dander would start in a 4-4-2 for Hibs. Not the kind of player. He's a bit of a luxury player. Same with Kyle Turner, but they're struggling a wee bit. And no one really. I mean, Luke McCowan at Dundee, maybe he's having a good season, but again, probably wouldn't get in the team. He'd need to come in the team as a winger or as a 10, and I don't think he'd start ahead of Boyle or Jan. So I'm just going to stop suggesting people because I keep on following up by saying they wouldn't get in the team. I mean, Ryan Strain would probably play ahead of Lewis Miller, in all honesty. As good as Miller's been, I think Ryan Strain's a better footballer.
He's probably better on the ball. You probably looked at, we're talking about a goalkeeper. You looked at the other goalkeepers in the league, but is there a goalkeeper that's capable of kind of playing the way that Montgomery wants to, out with the obvious two teams? Does anybody really play it from the back in the style that we want to? It's comfortable on the ball? Probably not.
I don't know what he's like on the ball, but that St Johnstone goalie saving stats are absolutely unbelievable.
It's because of the amount of shots they
place for St Johnstone. Wait till he's experienced 6 months of playing under Craig Levine, man. The number of shots he'll be having to save getting penned in for 90 minutes a game will be even higher than they are now.
Oh boy.
Well, a couple other ones that have got suggested in the YouTube comment section. N'Golo Grante said, think Danny Armstrong from Killie could be a shout. Owen Beck from Dundee looks a player as well. Hibs, who refuses to change his name from Hibs despite my requests every week, said Armstrong and Kiltie decent. We've got some weird guy called Arthur Bushby who said Hearts better team, Celtic always win it. That's completely irrelevant to everything we're saying, Arthur, but I'm glad you're having a good time chatting to yourself. I was going to say Big Ben Siegrist, I think would obviously be the dream shout, so we've actually got a goalkeeper. But
what's happened to him? He doesn't even get on the bench for Celtic.
I know, he gets paid like 16k a week or something today.
I think that would be my worry, is that he's not even involved, and he's not been involved for months.
Yeah, Scott Bain's ahead of me.
I've got just visions of signing Benji Siegrist in January, and I'm turning up and looking like Conrad Logan because he's not even been training for the last 6 months. And that's being lumbered with a goalie that's 19 stone for the rest of the season, because he was a big lad anyway to begin with. He kind of looks like the sort of guy who could pile on a few pounds without doing too much eating. Probably just look at a packet of Krispy Kremes and be morbidly obese. So I would worry about that one, to be honest. I'm just going to shut up now before I cause myself any more problems.
That's okay, mate. But Chris Sebo, his second part of the question. I like this question. I don't think Ryan and Greg are going to be particularly big fans. Liam can definitely.
I like MMA.
But he said top 5 MMA GOATs. Ryan, you kick us off.
All right. John Bone Jones. I like the two Diaz brothers because they're both shithouses. I like Tito Ortiz because he's a madman. And Keith Jardine because when he fights, it was like he was drunk. All right. So didn't you start with your MMA shite with me?
Good list. Greg, have you got a list?
Nope.
He likes Conor McGregor. No, he doesn't.
No, I don't.
He categorically does not like Conor McGregor. Liam, what have you got a top 5 or even a top 3?
Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje, Donald Cowboy Cerrone, just because he's Donald Cowboy Cerrone. I quite like Stipe Miocic as well. There's 4.
Nice.
There's 4.
I'm going to go GOAT as in who I actually think's probably in the top 5 of all time. So I think Khabib Nurmagomedov. I think it's pretty difficult based off his achievements to not put him in there. I think John Jones, you're spot on, Ryan. I think 2-weight divisional champion. I think unbelievable.
Spinning back elbow,
Anybody that can be defeated and then avenge their defeat to become champion again. I love GSP. I think he's an absolute savage of a man. In terms of enjoyability, if you want to get into MMA and you just want to find someone to watch as entertaining, I would always say Anderson Silva should be in and amongst it. And in terms of just love, this isn't for all-out talent, but just because I adore him so much, Alexander Volkanovski is an absolute gem of a human, and I just love him. I love him. He's the type of guy that me and Liam were chatting earlier, the type of guy that You could say to him, "You're fighting in 20 minutes, mate, against the world's toughest man," and he would be in the octagon ready to throw down. And N'Golo Grante said Poatan, who is Alex Pereira, who just won the light heavyweight championship at the weekend. Oh my God, I love talking MMA, but I don't think many people are tuned in for that. So Sibo, let us know your top 5 MMA goats. And you and Craig said, where does the idea that David Marshall should be able to find a Hibs player within 2 seconds of receiving the ball, even though most of them have their back to him when he actually has the ball in that position? The booing that went on at one, what is wrong with Hibs fans? It's 10 minutes to go. Keep the ball and calm down, man. What was up with that? Why is Marshall getting slagged off when we're 1-0 up? Ryan, what is going on with Hibs fans?
Do you know what? Where we were situated in the stadium, it was pretty clear that there was a lot of unhappy Hibs fans, and the majority of the guys that we were standing around that couldn't really understand it. So I don't know where it was coming from, but it's ridiculous. Most of the time, there was nothing on. And then in the last 10 minutes of the game, like, it's a pure basic fact that they can't score if you have the ball. Like, just be patient, keep possession, recycle it, keep the ball. Happy days, man. I don't get it. I really don't get it. What's the rush? What's the rush? We don't need to go up the park and score another one. We're winning 1-0.
Liam, why? When, like, we don't need to launch counter-attacks when counter-attacks aren't available.
No, he did it the one time it was on. He went to Ewan, and then Ewan just sort of like checked back inside and didn't really bother attacking them anyway. Like the one time it was on, he went out to the left wing. Ewan was there. I think there's a wee bit of education that's needed, and I don't know who it needs to come from. Whether it comes from Montgomery or I remember his coaching staff. Just try and explain to supporters what we're trying to do, because there's obviously quite a lot of people that don't get it. Like, and I'm not trying to sound like all high and mighty and knowledgeable, like I do get it, because there's still points in the game where I kind of scratch my head and go, well, what have we done that for? But like the goal kicks, for example, like, can you explain to people why we're doing that? That we're ultimately trying to tease teams forward and find the space to get in behind them, because a lot of teams that will come and play against us will set up with a bit of a low block, or they will get 11 men behind the ball as much as they possibly can. I do think it's a thing that I think a lot of fans are going to have to just understand, that there's a wee bit of difference, a wee bit of change, and get their heads around it.
And speaking on that, Sean Purvis also sent in thoughts on fans booing when we were 1-0 up. Are we entitled to be frustrated, or should we allow players to carry out the instructions they've been given? Greg, that kind of echoes what Liam said. Do you think it is just fans need to get used to the fact that we're playing a different way under a new manager?
We need to chill out. If the goalie doesn't shell it within 0.001 seconds of picking the ball up, then it's like people get over the top with it. I just think you need to chill out. Like, these fans would be going tonto if we tried to play it quickly and lost it and it came back. So you can't win. There is no winning here. And I do think fans just need to chill out in general. Whether it's Hibs defending, believe it or not, you will spend time in the game defending. That's just a fact. So people do just need to relax and enjoy that we're actually playing football now, and not get so uptight about the fact the goalie's not shelling it quicker than the speed of light or the speed of sound. Like, please just relax. 90 minutes. Like, 90 minutes.
Liam makes a valid point about kind of enticing teams to come on to you. If you can play through that initial press, it gives you so much space for your dangerous attacking players to operate in, which ultimately is where a lot of our quality chances have came from. For a long time, we kind of screamed to get an identity and a style of play, and now we've kind of implemented one. It's almost as if people can't get their heads around why we're doing it, but this is what we'll do because it benefits us further up the park. We might not have the right personnel at the minute to do it every time, but once we kind of give Nick Montgomery time to get his own players in and identify them, then we'll see how effective it can be and how much it's going to benefit us.
And a very kind offer here, guys. If you play fantasy football, which I think a few of the guys on the podcast have given up on, Jake Gaffer says, if anyone has any players in particular who they'd like me to jinx by putting them in my dream team, please do look up Jake Gaffer. I think it's Ventes Plenty. And he has shared his team, and they've not had the greatest week. He did use his wild card to put in 3 St Mirren players, which obviously, given the 4-0 defeat at the weekend, was not his best move. And he said, please give some suggestions. So, guys, one suggestion each. I would like you to pick whoever scores the most points on Liam's team. I'm currently behind him, and I do not like that, Jake. So please look at Liam's team and try and hit him at the kneecaps. Liam, over to you. Who would you pick for Jake to put in his team to jinx?
Well, we're playing Dundee next, so probably the aforementioned Luke McCowan, because he seems to be their main man.
Nice. Ryan, who are you putting in the box of shame, Jake Gaffer's fantasy team?
Again, I was going to go with what Liam said. Dundee are playing. We're playing Dundee next, so that Bakayoko scored a few goals. Or is it Hemmings that plays in goals for them?
I like the thinking, because if
one
the
of those
keeper's on
two.
minus, they've conceded
Trevor
before.
Carson's our goalie.
So it is. He moved from St Mirren. So a good goalie. Carson or Bakayoko.
Greg, who are you committing?
Yeah, I've given up on it already. As soon as Mark O'Hara got injured, that was me finished. So yeah, to be honest, pick anyone. Because I'm out the running already. So just pick anyone.
Mate, Ewan's making changes every week, and you might still finish above him. To be fair about doing anything between now and the end of the season.
Yeah,
the Tinker Man changes every week.
Mate, I've deleted the app and everything. So if I finish above him, then that.
Does he change formations in that every week as well?
He switched to a 3-1-2-1-1-1-2 this week.
Ewan changes that many things. He's probably in a deficit of the amount of minus points he gets for his transfers. This is going to be a bit triggering, guys, so I do apologise that I have to ask it. But Gav Dick said, thoughts on us shooting into the famous 5 stand first half? Personally, I don't like it at all. I found it very frustrating. I didn't like it, and I just wanted to complain at anybody that would listen. I don't have OCD, but I like things to be a particular way, and I like Hibs to shoot at the famous 5 end in the second half, and it really bugged me off. Liam, were you irate, or am I just being a bit dramatic?
I'm going to be really honest, I didn't notice.
What?
It's never something that's really occurred to me. I know that's terrible, because I've seen a few people talking about it, I should know, but I didn't notice. I think I was too distracted by the fact the sun was in my eyes for the entirety of the first half. I could barely see anything to notice which way we were shooting.
Wow, madness! Ryan, were you angry, or am I just alone in this?
So there's a couple of things to this. Lee and Sebo brought their kids along to the game, and there was loads of sweeties and that there. So I was really busy stuffing my face with Haribos and Frutellas and things like that. The sun. But also, I'm not superstitious of that. We went on to win the game 1-0, so maybe we've been shooting the wrong way in the first half for years.
And Greg, was the spa facing the right way in the first half, or was it?
Yeah, when I seen it, to be fair, it reminded me of Jack Ross after the cup semi-final. Oh no, I'm angry. I was proper triggered by it because it just doesn't look right. Really doesn't look right. I don't like it, and I hope it never happens again.
And I hope if it does happen again, Liam notices and is also angered by it as well, because I'm getting slightly angry that Liam didn't get angry, which is a new level of anger that I've never found.
It was the first thing I noticed. I was like, nah, come on, what's happening here? I thought it was the second half.
Did they maybe request it because of the sun? Is that a possible?
I remember, I can't remember the score. I think St Mirren beat us 3-2 once. In first half, they shot towards their own fans. So I don't know if it's just to try and get. I don't know if it was McInnes potentially won the coin toss and fought
so
try and get momentum and try and get some goals early. That was my guess, because that's the only reason I could see it happening. But
you win the coin toss. I think you get the choice to pick the half instead of kick off now, and then it's probably something to do maybe to throw teams off if they're used to playing a certain way. Yeah.
That's disappointing how you interrupted Ryan just as he was about to call it a toin cross. That would have been good.
Toin cross.
Oh God!
You're a cunny fun,
But Mick Haggis sent in, the team is worse without Jeggle.
You're just saying stuff that isn't true now, or?
No, listen, Jeggle's been a really good player when he's played this season, but we're not a better or a worse team. I think they both do different jobs in the starting 11, and I think playing Levitt on Saturday was the right thing to do, given that what Greg mentioned about having to start attacks maybe from deeper to penetrate from further out, given that they've got so many men behind the ball. And then again, Liam made a good point about us sitting further back when Jago plays. So I think there's a time and a place to play both players separately.
Levitt's
just
showing
think
his
that-
qualities.
Yeah, exactly. Like Darren Levitt's a better football player. That's it. Like there is no other argument to that. I think Jago's limited. He probably has a job to do, but yeah, when you're looking at attack teams and play on the front foot, Darren Levitt is the one alongside Joseph. So
But yes, we're not bashing Jago. We're not bashing him. Like he's
Right,
got his
you can't be
qualities.
rash, mate. It's fine. It's okay. Neil's coming for us. You're okay.
No, I'm just.
We'll protect
I know.
you. We'll
I know a
protect you,
certain
mate. Don't worry.
person that will drive an agenda regardless of what he does or doesn't do. So
I'd be supportive of Jago coming back in when we're playing away at Celtic Park in 2-3 weeks' time. But I think for the majority of the games, I think Levitt's the guy. You're going to play two in the midfield. I think you need two guys that are comfortable on the ball in the centre of the park and who've got a range of passing that allows you to get up the pitch and can take the ball in spaces where maybe some other players don't want it. And you and Levitt can do that. Like Levitt's been great to watch last few games. Watched them very closely at the weekend there. He's just such a lovely balanced footballer. So good. Like you can tell he's been schooled in the game properly. Like he knows what he's doing.
I think
So much
tidy,
ability.
like, he's a very tidy footballer, isn't he? Like
Yeah.
he just doesn't ever look clumsy. I know he misplaced a couple of passes when he was tired in the second half, but he just looks so comfortable on the football pitch. Sorry, Greg, I cut in there.
that's okay. He's got everything really. He's got all the tools, all the minerals that you need to be a good, proper midfield player. And he can start attacks and from deep, and I think that's so important in this league, especially when teams are going to come and sit.
he's got a lovely first touch under pressure as well. Like Liam talks about guys that can play through the press. Like he rarely has a loose first touch, and it's always in front of him, and it's always on the foot that he wants to be passing with next. Like he sets his first touch up perfectly for the next ball.
And just to confirm, Archie asked a question to the tune of, do you prefer midfield 2 or 3? IMO, I want to see Jago, Newell and Levitt together. Do we just think that's realistically something that's not going to happen for the foreseeable?
Just accept it's going to be a 2. A bit like the way we play and things like that. It's just going to be, that's the way it is. And we need to accept it.
And then one final listener question was from Liam Young, and he said, how big an effect on our season could losing Rocky, Miller, Boyle and Wallacott for 4 games in January have? Is there some form of international tournament, I would then assume, come
Asian
January?
Cup's on in January, but we've also got the winter break for 3.5 weeks, I think. I think the only game that's scheduled in that period of time will be a Scottish Cup game. So obviously depends on who we've got. So unless the competition goes on till sort of February, it might do. In which case, we'll obviously lose them for those games in late January. But Miller, Boyle, and Wallacott will be the ones missing. Potentially Jago, of course. Albeit I don't think Jago gets in the Australia squad these days, does he? So it's a bit of a worry, but we've got a January window to sort that out and bring in reinforcements if we need to. So it gives us an opportunity to look at the squad, I suppose.
Yeah. I'd also be hoping for maybe McCurdy and Can potentially be back from injury. Meg got to bring back from a loan he's coming back anyway, so he'll be in and around it. And then you could either utilise loans, which isn't great, and then potential permanent targets as well. So we've always got options in that time of the year.
A couple of
Thanks
questions
for
that actually
explaining the
came.
transfer window, Ryan.
I just need to make myself clear sometimes. I speak to the older generation all day, every day, so I usually have to say it more than once as well.
And then a couple valid questions actually came in after we started on Twitter. Thomas said, thoughts on Sunshine's performance at halftime? 1, maybe 2 saves, but just letting the others past him. It's not good enough. If we're being serious, like Sunshine, yeah, there's like, let's be serious. We're here to play football. Stop. Have you ever seen the American football, the NFL mascots versus kids?
No,
mate.
Oh,
no.
It's
And
just
we'll just leave that there, will we?
No, mate. I'll send you a clip, and
No,
if you
we
didn't
will.
laugh at it, I'll send you a £5 each. Please do look it up. It is hysterical, and that's the way that kids should be treated when playing sports.
Has anyone made the joke yet that it's good for David Marshall to go on and get dressed up at half time and play with the kids?
Oh no! Oh no! Run away!
I'll tell
Run
you one
away.
thing though, if I was a Kilmarnock fan, I'd be really disappointed with the goal that we scored from the goalkeeper. It goes right through his legs, man. Like, just shift your feet.
Those
David
are
De Gea
good.
used to
Those
be
are
brilliant at it. He used to be really good at using his feet. Don't really see it much anymore for some reason.
One out of fashion, eh?
And
Aye,
then
The goalkeepers are too busy figuring out how they can fucking punch the ball away using two hands instead of just fucking catching it like your two hands are meant to.
we discussed that
Some
in the game.
fashions in football are just chronic. Eh? Like, I was watching quite a lot of football at the weekend, and some of the goalkeeping on display, man, just fucking catch it.
Aye, if you're getting, we spoke about this at the game. If you're getting two fists to punch it, like, catch the bloody thing.
Aye.
but sometimes people don't cover themselves in glory when they concede, but they do pass the ball a bit better. So we do need to take that into consideration as well.
Brody.
But not Hibs related. But Luke Cunningham said, "How funny is watching Chris Boyd's meltdowns on Sky? Did you see the one where he was going mental?
He's an
Oh
absolute
my
child.
god,
embarrassment.
mate! Let's grow
He's
up
so
here.
paranoid. He's so
It's an
paranoid.
embarrassment, like, it's an embarrassment. You've got to be impartial. Like, he doesn't even try and cover it up.
Chris Boyd is the epitome of like the company you keep informs the kind of person you are. Like, I'd imagine his mates are really thick, and they're probably quite a lot of them are kind of like lodge dwelling types, and they hit it with that sort of pattern on the weekly basis. So you spend all your time with those people. That's how you become informed, and you just end up repeating that sort of stuff.
He absolutely believes that Barry Robson told his team to go out and not try because he used to play for Celtic. Like, you can just tell. He honestly would have gone home and had a serious conversation with himself in the mirror about how Barry Robson has told his team to just lie down, but how they're going to pick up their performance because Rangers, as he says, Rangers are in town. So I think he's just a really paranoid individual. And his face infuriates me every time I see him.
He's going to have an aneurysm if Aberdeen beat them at Pittodrie, and I'm all here.
And then, but one thing Ryan was kind of touching on there, and it's probably a good time for the international break to come. Obviously, St Mirren kind of got hit by an illness that Montgomery revealed that Hibs seemed to have been struck a bit by as well, which is why Venta went off. So hopefully by the time the international break's come and gone, we'll actually have a bit more of a squad together. And the likes of Jake Doyle-Hayes, Cadden and McCurdy are supposedly not too far from coming back. Do you think any of those three players make an instant impact, or is the team playing at a certain level that those positions you kind of have to work your way back into the team?
Jake Doyle-Hayes coming back makes me instantly happy.
Do you think he gets in?
No. Still makes me happy though. See, just to have him on the bench though, and ask him to work his way into the team. It's the same with the other two as well. Like, I'm all for the McCurdy resurrection as well. Like, Chris Cadden as well will absolutely have a part to play. I think it will be further up the pitch, but it's another option, a solid option in the squad as well. So, some players coming back from injury is an absolute bonus for us, and give them the opportunity and the onus on themselves to work themselves into the start 11.
Competition's great. It's great. Like, it puts the heat on everybody to keep the levels at a really good standard. So knowing that one poor game could see them come out of the team, I think it's great for the squad in general.
I'm just thinking to your question about the Asian Cup, Harry. Sorry about Miller. If Miller is away for a period, then Chris Cadden's your starting right back, isn't he? So, Doyle-Hayes and McCurdy, certainly McCurdy, I think will have to wait quite a while for his chance because he's probably quite far back in the pecking order. Because if I'm not mistaken, Melkerson will come back from his loan in January because the Norwegian season's finished. Yeah. So he's probably even behind him in the pecking order, I would imagine. But we'll see.
But then to start the season, we probably would have said that both of those players were ahead of Tavares in the pecking order, and look what happened there. So definitely more positives to take away from them coming back than negatives. And then obviously international break is on the horizon. It feels like we've had a lot of them this season. I don't like international breaks. Let's have less of them. But one thing you think the team should work on, is there anything in particular that you think's been a bit in the past few weeks that you think a good 2 weeks of work on that and we'll get it perfected? Silence from the crowd.
Again, like being defensively minded, I still think that we need to be better in the wider areas defensively. We conceded a lot of crosses on Saturday. We conceded a lot of crosses, which could have been a danger had we not defended the box as well as we did. So it's more about just stopping the source and getting out there quicker. Maybe stopping the balls getting out wide as quick as they do from further up the pitch. But that's me probably just being really critical.
I think the thing for me, we're going to come up against the Dundee time in 2 weeks, so we're going to be pretty defensive and fairly resolute if their league form's in to go by. So I think we need to work on sort of chance creation in the final third, how we create bits of space for some of our more attacking players, how we create overloads, and just generally how we break down probably quite a stubborn team. Which will involve a lot of moving the ball about very quickly because they'll be pretty organised, I would think. I wasn't that impressed on Easter Road, to be honest. I thought they were very lucky to get out of town with a point, but they'll be better at Dens Park, I would imagine. So I expect that to be quite a stuffy game.
I think as well, probably want us to work on the press in the final third. We could maybe up that a couple of notches, be a bit more aggressive with it. But maybe that's just me being picky.
I think that transition is something that worries me defensively, and that's something I think I don't know if it's potentially personnel we send forward as well at set pieces. Sometimes I get a bit confused as to why it takes quite as long for our defence to get back into shape after we've had a corner. So I think that's something that Montgomery's kind of brought in, that maybe the players that he had at his old club it worked a bit better with, and he's kind of tried to fill it like for like with Hibs, and it's just not really worked for me personally so far. And so I think he's got a bit of a muddle there that he needs to solve. But also, boys, international week, no Hibs playing. What do you do? Like you've got a weekend to actually exist outside of being a football fan. Obviously, there might be an international game or two you watch, but it's not Hibs. You're not that invested. What are you actually going to get up to?
I tend to just work more. Make extra coin. That's it.
Nice. Liam?
I'd love to tell you I had some sort of exciting plans this weekend, but genuinely nothing really. Go to the gym, take the dog for a longer walk than usual, maybe see some friends if I feel like being sociable. That is genuinely it. Like I find weekends without proper football to be, sad as it sounds, quite empty.
Oh, Greg, any happier answers than that?
Unfortunately, no spaz this weekend. I think Christmas shopping's on the cards. May as well take advantage while Hibs aren't playing.
And if you get Greg in the Secret Santa, you know to get him some spa vouchers and you'll have a happy Greg on your hands. Personally, I love catching up on the washing. See if I've not done all the washing. I love catching up and see if I've got all the clothes done. I'll get the bed sheets in. No, mate, I love see the satisfaction of waking up on a Monday morning and there's no washing in the wash basket. I think it's class. And I've not been to cinema in ages. I might go to the cinema on the weekend. That's probably something that people do.
Let's be honest.
London cinema prices.
International breaks, man. They would bring on a migraine, the international breaks. Like, you really just want to sit in a darkened room until the football's back. Let's be honest.
Yeah. But just before we leave you today, there's two things that we need to mention to you. First of all, my sister, who is a mental hybie just like the rest of us, has created her own app. It is called Zoomo. It is essentially Wordle, but with pictures. It's a picture zoomed in 100 times, and then you have to guess what it is. And each guess you get wrong, it zooms out a certain amount. And when you get it correct, it gives you a quick ding, and then you get to see how you have done in comparison to the rest of the world. Everybody on the podcast has either given it a go or plays every day. Ewan got 100 times, which he was happy with. And if you're a Hibs fan wondering who endorses this app, down the slope isn't enough. Matty Jack has played Zoomo and he loves it. I had a go of it when we were over in Switzerland and Bex was just building the app. So please do look in the Play Store and on Apple Store for Zoomo. It's just Zoom DLE. Bex, that is some massive brother points I've just earned there. And Ryan, I'm going to hand the floor to you because there is a special episode coming this week. If you don't reveal who it is, but if you give a couple teasers and why people should be excited for the episode, probably dropping Thursday.
Okay, so we've got an episode dropping on Thursday that we did regarding a charity game in favour of mental health, and it is a Hibs legend, revered by many, had a couple of spells here, scored a lot of goals, made a lot of money for the club. Very funny guy as well. There's a couple of good points in there, so you'll enjoy it.
Absolutely. Greg, Liam, neither of us three were actually on, so we've not actually seen the content yet. Are you excited yourselves for that one to drop?
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to hearing a lot about it. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm buzzing listening to it. He is a proper legend as well. Someone who I grew up watching. So I'll not say any more because I'm in danger of reading out his Wikipedia page and revealing who he is. But he is. Let's put it this way: some man.
Yeah. If we ever wanted to get the podcast cancelled, I think that him being a guest is our best chance of doing it. He is a top bloke, though. We're definitely excited to listen. Greg, your thoughts?
Yeah, just what Liam said times two. In danger of giving it away.
But we'll do our usual. We'll give a few cheeky reveals, tweets on Twitter, and see if you can guess who it is. But thank you everybody who joined us on YouTube. Thank you to everybody that has listened on streaming services, and